getting my spatial awareness situated here.
Yeah, and I just gotta pack my bowl. Real quick.
Oh, can we get like IMDb stuff open on the other screen, potential?
Yes, I do. Just need to switch the HDMI for my switch port.
Yeah.
I thought about it and I was like,
Yeah, I just want to know names, especially for Marianne, because I don't know names for that at all. Oh, you know something funny?
What?
I showed my coworker, who is one of the only people at work who are JoJo fans, my shirt, because I wore my JoJo shirt today with Joseph on it. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I wore my JoJo shirt too." And he also has a JoJo shirt with Joseph on it, but it's a different shirt with a younger Joseph. But I just so weird. It's I highly doubt he's got more than one JoJo shirt. Because he got his custom made, because it's his workout shirt, because it's a made up picture of Joseph lifting weights. And it's he wears it usually when he works out. I just thought it was so bizarre.
Yeah, dude. You know what I think is bizarre is that putting the settings so that it's two screens, that it's under screen resolution and not just its own thing you can look up. You have to know that to swap between when you plug the HDMI into your computer, having it mirroring on the TV versus having the TV be an extension of your thing, it has to. You have to go to screen resolution. Great. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Although kind of makes sense.
I
would look there second.
Yeah, I know where it is.
But I would look for a screen input selection first, if it was available.
Yeah, you'd think Microsoft would do better.
Yeah.
Alright, just pack my bowl for later.
Waiting for my tea to be touchable. It's very hot. I made it very boiling when I did it.
Opening up IMDb for reference.
I don't know any of the names of these French people.
What
Marianne.
Marianne.
Yeah.
God, I'm bad with names, no matter what.
E-N, I believe. Oh, no, it is A-N.
Haha,
but there's an E at the end. Okay.
Yeah. Marianne. Yeah, anyway. Full cast and crew. Great.
Okay. People who don't even have pictures.
Wow, the main actress doesn't have a headshot on IMDb.
It's probably your first thing.
I mean, at least English. Well, I mean, it wasn't really English, but to an English audience. Maybe they're I didn't recognize any of them. Maybe they're all off the street, French.
Yeah, maybe they did French theater. Or something.
Recently out of French acting school, college.
And maybe they're known in France.
Do in France.
And maybe they're known in France, but they just don't have IMDb profiles until this came out.
Fuck. Well, this is Hot Tokes. You counted us out. You thought we were gone. You thought these stoners couldn't stick to a schedule and keep a podcast going for more than 3 episodes. Well, fuck you. We're here. We're really doing it still. Yeah. What do you think? You get one every week? What do you want? This is fun. So This is I'm John.
I'm Ian.
And we are a couple of stoners and nerds up in the woods.
Yeah, we watch things and we think our opinions matter. So we talk about them. Yeah.
And so we're going to record them for you because they're really good opinions, in my opinion. We watched Marianne, which is a show on Netflix. It is originally in French. I assume it was filmed in France and not in some like other.
It looked like it was in
place.
Europe at least. Like
Yeah,
very cloudy and.
We started by watching the dubbed version with the English voices, and
we immediately switched.
Ian usually watches like anime and such in Japanese, and I feel like I kind of like the original voices better in a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's just less distracting too, especially like with live action.
I don't
just
mind
with the
reading.
mouths not matching up. Yeah,
I'm not a dum-dum. I know how to read.
Well, it was an 8-episode season, about hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
And it was, it was okay.
I thought it had some good potential to be one of the best horror shows ever. There's a lot of moments that you and I were like, I don't know about that. Like a lot of characters making dumb horror movie tropey mistakes, which is usually fine when it's like a young crew, but these are all like middle-aged adults, and one of them being the writer of the scare horrible things that they like are experiencing, because that's the whole premise is she's a writer and she's experiencing the same horrors that she wrote about. So,
yeah,
like,
and it seems like that those horrors also were kind of kicked off the writing to begin with. Like,
yeah,
she was basing it off of what had already happened or something. But basically, there's a witch, Marianne, who's kind of a witch, well, more of like a demon, or kind of
she possesses
a
people.
face of a demon.
Yeah. She's a specter of some sorts.
And through the main character, Emma Larsimon,
played by Victor Dubois.
I think it's Victoire Dubois.
Victor Dubois.
So she's kind of a writer. She has this popular, like almost, what would you, like a Twilight kind of thing. Like it seemed to be like a popular with women horror series.
Well, there's some men in the audiences that were talking. I think she like the thing is like I think the show itself was very Stephen King inspired.
Well, I just mean the books she wrote in the thing. Like they would kind of be on par with like maybe a Twilight, just as far as like their place in the culture, their popularity. Maybe not quite the quality. Maybe a little better than that. Like
I saw it similar to being Stephen King.
Like a Stephen King. Yeah, that makes sense. But kind of like really one continuous series with Lizzie Lark, like the main character. It wasn't like she wasn't doing a ton of different works. Right. It was like Lizzie Lark's adventures with Marianne and fighting evil. But anyway, basically, just before I get too off in the weeds, writing the books gives Marianne power, like spreading people the thought of her and having people dream about her made her more powerful, which is why she's blackmailing Emma into writing about her, because if she keeps writing, she'll get more and more powerful. So she's basically saying, if you don't write, I'll haunt your family. I'll haunt you. I'll do horror movie stuff to you and like fuck you up and take your mom and dad and friends and
I mean, honestly, like, I feel like any simple person who would be experiencing this would put 2 and 2 together and realize that going to your friends and family is the worst decision, and just go somewhere isolated.
Yeah, what threw me is that I could never really tell who really believed that Marianne was a threat.
Yeah.
And whether hauntings were happening. Like, there was the inspector character who I liked enjoyed. Him. Yeah, he was fun. And he kept finding like these little like flesh sacks with like teeth in them that were basically witches' charms, kind of like helped the evil spells be cast in that area or something.
The one thing I really liked the most about the show is how it had a really good sense of like a jinx or a curse, because even having the inspector hold that weird curse thing in his hand brought bad luck to everybody and everything around him. Yeah. And I really liked...
There was a good impending sense of doom.
Yeah, especially when he was reading that book, like
it was kind of to the extreme, to the point where I didn't have any hope that these characters were gonna like come out victorious.
Yeah.
I was like, this demon is showing up at any time and like can do anything and stop you from doing anything it doesn't want you to do. Like, when is time to like plan and act and do like Scooby-Doo bullshit? Like, it'll just show up and fuck with you if you're doing anything. Like, it seems to be pretty powerful. So I didn't really have any like hope for anything, which was kind of frustrating, because like normally this kind of thing would be an hour and a half or 2 hour movie, but in an 8 episode season, there's a lot of like, oh my god,
Yeah,
like she's just getting fucked with so much.
I would have much preferred this to be like 4 or 5 episodes, because like honestly, it was mainly the flashback episodes that were the worst. Because I didn't
mind them too much, but they were like, come on, get through it.
It was just information that was already given to us through exposition throughout the other episodes.
And it's more fun to have it be a little more mysterious, in my opinion.
It made it worse when it showed that a lot of these characters experienced these things prior. So why are they not believing more about the fact that there's a witch and that it's not Emma Larson's fault for any of this, but they like blame her for like everything?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not her fault.
Yeah, totally. Oh god, it reminds me, you see that in stuff a lot where it's like clearly the bad guy is the one doing the thing, but then the hero kind of attached to the bad guy gets blamed, and it's like, I feel like that's in a lot of shows and movies. I've seen that trope before, and it's always frustrating. I'll think of it, the one that I'm specifically remembering, but I can't off the top of my head.
I mean, but all in all, I think it was fine. I would still recommend watching it if you're into watching something spooky for the Halloween season.
It was compelling enough to like watch the whole thing. Like, we weren't going to continue if we didn't want to. This wasn't like,
there have been shows in the past that we've just stopped watching.
Oh yeah. So it was always like, oh, it could, do some really cool stuff, and it did some cool stuff. But just the one other thing on it being 8 episodes is that it did a lot of the same like style spooks over and over. There's a lot of like those same kind of horror movie camera tricks where it's like, they look in the mirror,
camera
and then they're behind
right.
you, and then you turn around and they're not there, and then you look back in the mirror and they're still not there, but then they're right next to you. Like, that's it. Or just,
It did it like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, there was probably a dozen times where it was like the slightly like cracked open door and the little like the fingers. Long fingers come through. They're like kind of like gray and just very slowly like creep out. That happens a lot. And at a point you're like, okay, like just like fucking get in here.
Also, mild spoilers, but it is revealed that the witch Marianne's got a large Marge face, and when it shows it a little bit, it was spooky. But like towards the end, when she's just like floating around looking all dumb and like it's very just in bright daylight, large Marge face was kind of silly at the very end.
Yeah. There was some really goofy the demon things, or like those dark characters were a little like theatrical in a way that was kind of silly. But yeah, I guess. Did we spoil anything? I don't think so, right?
Besides the large Marge face, not really.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I kind of said how Marianne's like power works, but
I think that's beneficial.
Yeah. But just so before we spoil anything, I guess, it was good.
Yeah. I would highly recommend to anybody who likes Stephen King. It's very Stephen King inspired. There's even like a Cujo like moment in the show. There's like the creepy like town that's almost like it's from Maine almost, with the lighthouse, and the character's a writer. Very, very Stephen King inspired if you're fans of his work.
Yeah, the setting was good, and they had some good spots. It was kind of the same places a lot, but
instead of a New England town, it was just an England town basically.
Yeah, like just a small like French like fishing village or whatever. Yeah, like, right, because even 2 of the guys were fishermen, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I guess also she has a gang of friends that they're friends since they were kids, but then Emma, for reasons, had to just kind of like leave town and kind of break ties with everyone. And so she hasn't seen them in forever, but they kind of had this Scooby-Doo gang vibe. And when she came back for...
The chemistry between the actors was good.
Yeah. They had some good moments. They also had some weird... It was with them a lot of the time where I was like, why is this what we're doing? Like, times where they were like, oh yeah, we're totally safe now, but it didn't make any sense. And it's like, no, the threat's still out there. Why are you like taking a breather? Like, why are you taking a break?
I feel like there's not too many spoilerly things I really want to discuss too much about the show, but I guess at this point we've said a lot of not spoilery things. So at this point,
so at this point, if you're still here
in the comments section or whatever,
in the spoiler alert.
I didn't like how it left at a cliffhanger with the whole... I mean, I guess season 2 will be very Rosemary Baby inspired, maybe, which could be cool. But like the whole like she got date raped by Satan, it's kind of weird.
Well, that also didn't make any. That was one of the moments that didn't make sense for me. And I get that they were like trying to get to that story moment of her being impregnated, but she wasn't done with Marianne, and she's just...
It's like such a weird moment to like, start to bone.
Yeah, and it's like, are you really gonna like fuck right now? Like, A, be a homewrecker, but B, like, he could be possessed, you could get possessed, this demon thing could show up at any time and like fuck with like this going on. Like, you can't trust anything.
Yeah, and also, like, you can make the argument that, like, Marianne had been possessed her already, so, like, she could have been influenced from that. But the reaction from the guy when he's like, wait, I thought you had sex with me. And he's like, no, get the fuck out of my life. It's like, wait a minute. You know that there's a witch fucking around.
Yeah. He was all pissed off. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what are you saying?
Like,
right after they just had, like, all this... His baby was literally taken by this demon.
Yeah.
And, like, replaced with that little, like, flesh sack thing that she puts everywhere. And he's still, like, not immediately going to that as the explanation for, like, these fucked up things happening.
Shit, you should, like... If you're pregnant, fucking like abort the
child.
Yeah,
it's not
probably
what the fuck is wrong with you? Get the fuck away. It's that wasn't me. Like like that wasn't me. You need to figure out what happened to you last night. Like that's there's some stuff like that where I'm like, what do they and what don't they understand?
Yeah, but I mean, all in all, it was fine. Very serviceable.
It looked good. It was a good enough looking show. There was some good shots of the water. The kind of original Marianne, kind of like the young
one. The young again one. It was okay.
It was kind of weird. Yeah, towards the end she tries to like lead Emma away when she's kind of like possessing her. She tries to like take over Emma's body pretty much, like possess Emma, but kind of more than possess Emma. It seemed like she was kind of taking over Emma. Like, it seemed like it was maybe different than just possession. But maybe it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, they did say, like, when, I forget the character name, but the really old lady who was possessed in the beginning, she was saying that, like, she took her to the city. So it was probably the same kind of possession.
I guess it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it just seemed more... Maybe it was more of a faded...
I'm glad we didn't see the city, and if there's going to be season 2, I hope they don't show the city, because I like the city being, like, basically hell or whatever, and it's, like, a place that even if you look at it, you're cursed.
Yeah, and, like, and also...
By not showing it makes it feel like I don't want to see it.
Something that you can't look at. It's like, there's that old short story, that Aleph, where this guy, like, you, like, glimpse eternity, basically... and look into the void and you just like go mad or like go blind or whatever, like that kind of thing, where it's
forbidden knowledge.
Making it so you don't see it is sometimes better, like in the case of the backstory in their childhood. Like, we can just have that be backstory. We figured it out. Like, you don't need to show us. I guess maybe it made sense to show how that younger sister died, but that was another thing where it was like they were like blaming her or something, but it was like the freaking demon killed the younger sister. Like, she was in that fridge thing for like a minute or two.
Right.
And it's like, what the fuck? Like, and it's like, of course, at that point, if that's like kind of the first thing that the demon really did in real life, then they wouldn't have believed her. But
yeah.
Oh, and also it did kick off in a promising way, though, like with the kind of one of the friends from the group showing up, and it's her mom who's been possessed by Marianne. And so she's been going through a bunch of shit, and then like she ends up hanging herself in front of Emma, which is kind of what kicks off her journey back home, because there's a funeral, and then also the daughter, who was it? Camille? I can't remember. One of that girl. She's like, you have to go and talk to Marianne, who is possessing her mom, and yeah. So it had a good hook, the beginning of the show. That's why I was kind of like interested, because there was a good dynamic of this like crazy, or like kind of driven crazy past friend, where you're like, oh, it's like, I know you from my childhood, but you're like in this really fucked up situation now, and you're kind of like being really weird, and like that's yeah. So that was good. And then the male characters in the group were like fine. One of them was kind of like an oblivious, kind of jockey normal guy, I don't know, and I guess they kind of both were. And then there was the younger brother. I don't know. They didn't do like a ton,
serviceable,
but they were fine. Yeah,
I don't think at any point the acting was terrible. It was just fine or pretty decent.
Yeah, and I liked her best friend, who's Aurore Tiffany Davio, the famous French actress. I think that was that Aurore?
What are we talking about?
The older sister, the one whose younger sister died.
That's Camille.
That's Camille.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that died would not be in 8 episodes. It'd be like in 2 episodes or whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the older sister, the one who's a character
one that's still
in the
alive.
whole show, who's like kind of is her closest friend in a lot of ways. Anyway, she was good. I did like her. They tried to do some stuff where it was like she was in love with the guy like all along, and just never wanted to say anything. It was kind of just like the pal, and it was like a good enough plot, but it was weird that
like when he dies, she's like not very sad about it.
Yeah, and also they just like talk about it when they're like in the car outside the school, like in the middle of darkness, like super vulnerable. Like, why were they sleeping in the car like in the middle of this? I don't know. It's just nowhere was safe, but like it's felt unsafe to be where they were. They're like, let's sleep in the like where people can approach us from any direction. Yeah, like that's where I want to sleep, is in like a fishbowl in the middle of like a dark place where nobody's gonna be by because it's not like residential.
It's on an island, yeah,
and they were at like the school, so like nobody's gonna be there at that like those hours.
Yeah,
it just like felt really silly to be like, okay, now that we just had some contact with this demon, and I think I can't remember if it was before or after the investigator like kills himself and like his body keeps doing stuff over and over, which I did like that. They have the investigator get possessed, shoot himself, but then his body keeps like fucking around and screwing with them and like writing shit on the chalkboard. But they were talking about the fact that she like loved him all along or whatever, like right around all that fucked up shit going on. It just seemed, I get that you want your kind of drama relationship-y stuff and a lot of a lot of stories have that, but it just felt like it wasn't the time or place at all.
Yeah, I think it was before. Yeah, because then she goes to give the dog water and the dog's missing, and then it was right before.
Oh yeah, so at that point nothing had really happened yet.
They failed the seance, which is so weird. They just did a seance. Like, this would feel so uncomfortable being there. I'd feel uncomfortable being alone, I guess. So there's an excuse to be near your friends. But I mean, I don't know. I would anyway.
Oh yeah, the seance, because that's kind of what kicks it off to begin with, is that Emma is having like all these nightmares. She's like wetting the bed because this demon is like fucking with her. And so her little Scooby-Doo gang does a seance, and Marianne shows up, possesses her, and is like, I'm gonna fuck with all of you now. And that's basically the plot of the show, is her fucking with like all of that friend group, like taking their kids away, like taking one of them and killing him. Just like, yeah, just totally screwing them over and cursing them because they thought they could like do something. It was the best friend Camille who was like, oh, let's do a seance and like ask the evil spirit to go away. And then it's like, no, like, I'm gonna take your kids, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna do this. And then they were like, oh, let's do another seance because something different will happen and we won't just like piss it off more. Yeah, just another thing where I was like, they feel so powerless in this world. Like, it seems like they didn't have any means of recourse until towards the end when they're like, oh, this is how you can do something about it.
Yeah, but I still enjoyed it. It was so fun to watch.
Yeah, still compelling enough. Still some like good spooks. The guy who she was like taking the flesh patches out of, who was like in that room.
Yeah, her husband.
That was like messed up.
That was a
set piece.
The like the witches, what's it called? Not a coven, because a coven's a group of witches, but the
den,
like
lair,
the witches den.
Yeah, den.
Yeah, that was really good. A lot of things that like are part of witch lore.
You know who we haven't talked about is the assistant.
Yeah,
Emma's like kind of
like the intern or whatever.
Yeah, because she's this like big time professional writer, and so anywhere she goes, she has this professional assistant who's like, "Hey, you gotta like work and shit," and trying to like keep her job. I thought she was cute. She was all right. Yeah. She gets like knocked out at one point and then is like kind of out of the show for a little.
Pretty much, yeah.
And is like in the hospital. But then she comes back a bit towards the end. But she's neat. It was good to have the main character have somebody who had to be with her at like certain moments, I guess. And it was she encounters Marianne and then gets like fucked up. And the parents, they get messed with. They kind of get like hypnotized into walking away into the woods, and they just kind of get, Marianne just keeps them somewhere, Yeah. And it looked like they had like kind of carvings into them. Like those were like scars that were kind of like runic, like demonic markings and stuff.
I found the weirdest thing is that like she like gave the mom back and the baby. Like, why? I guess to give them incentive to keep writing.
Like, yeah.
But like she's just gonna torture her anyway.
Yeah, it kind of takes away from the pure evilness if
she's working for Satan.
She's like good on her word, I guess. But if she didn't give them back, then it'd be like, well, why would I write? Because you're just gonna fucking do it anyway, I guess. So I guess she kind of had to make it so she was gonna keep writing, because it like she would know that she could take that baby or kill whoever at any point and just like do it again.
Yeah, who knows? But I think that's a lot of talking about Marianne.
Yeah, definitely not like a, I don't know, super important show, I wouldn't say.
But good time
worth
to
a watch this time of year in October. I took French in high school, so I did kind of enjoy just listening to it in French and kind of being like, oh, I knew that little bit.
Yeah.
So that was just kind of fun.
I read a lot of Stephen King in high school, so I enjoyed it for the Stephen King similarities.
Yeah. So watch it if you like. Not like not super gory horror. Like there's definitely
Just
some
spooky
kill shots and some whatever, but
very spooky.
Yeah, it felt like it could be almost PG-13.
Yeah, a lot of swearing.
There's like some nudity.
Nudity.
Like you see the parents naked-ish, I think, when they're getting like taken. But yeah, and some like sex and whatever. But it felt like tame as far as like it's horror and gore and like that kind of stuff. It wasn't like super intense, but it was fun. So Marianne on Netflix. We're gonna smoke some weed and forget about it, and
kill a brain cell or something.
See ya in a bit. There'll be a little break, and then we'll be back to kind of just chit chat.
Feel free to join us.
Yeah. Pack a bowl. You should. Well, honestly, you should have it packed already. If you're in the audience, you should have had a bowl packed.
Girls.
Probably, maybe you rolled a J. Maybe you've been smoking the whole time anyway. But now's the time to really like light that special one up. Throw a little keef on it. See you in a bit.
See ya.
Shit, I don't have that. I'm not doing a bong, so I don't get those nice.
It's not gonna be super loud because I got the percolator.
That's fine.
Squeak alert. Well, muted in a different meaning of the term. Diluted. you want to do
do you think it makes sense to do like just like kind of topic-y stuff, or should we stick with like talking about a media thing?
Who knows? I feel like we've started with the media thing. Now we've smoked some weed, and now we can go on to talking about stuff that's going on with our lives, which, because it's October and it's Halloween, might as well talk about more Halloween stuff, fitting with Marianne being kind of a horror show. But I get what you're saying. As I mean, we both did haunted trails. Kind of. Well, you did a haunted trail. I did a haunted forest, which is a little different. But
yeah, mine was a haunted sleigh ride, spelled SLAY.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on a big farm. It was their first year doing it. It was up in the islands, and it's the same organization that does like a Ren fair around here and like a sci-fi fair. I think they do a steampunk one maybe, but the lighting wasn't really there, which was kind of good because they couldn't see you coming, and so like they were like surprised when you show up at the side, but at the same time it was like there are these set pieces and things that like you just couldn't really see. So I also went in kind of blind participating in this. Apparently like they had some meetings over a few weeks, and like there was a Facebook group, but the person who was like, oh yeah, like come be a part of this thing, like didn't tell me about any of that stuff. And so I kind of just like showed up like, I hope my friend told you I was going to be here. And there was supposed to be like food, which didn't happen because we also got there really close to when it started. So it was actually kind of a bad time because I didn't feel like very prepared. Like we got there like 20 minutes before it started. And so I just had to like improv, which, whatever. And luckily I brought a mask. It was one of those kind of like mesh ones where it's just totally black, but you can kind of see through it, but people can't see into it. Because they had a mask for me. It was like this orc mask or something, like goblin thing, but it didn't fit on my big fucking head. And also my friend's mask wouldn't fit on me either. So like, that's the thing when like I can't just like walk onto a theatrical production that's about to start with my body type, because like I've got big feet, big hands, big head. Like if there's costume stuff involved, like it needs to be like ordered for me or designed for me, or I'd bring in my own thing or something. So luckily I did think to make sure I had something on hand, because like I didn't really know what I was going into. But anyway, the stars were really nice, and I don't know, there was some good responses anyhow.
Yeah. I also did a haunted forest trail, also up in the islands. It's been my third year doing it now. Our group always does the same theme, which is clowns, which are very spooky. The spooky clowns scare me. It was a lot of fun. I usually have like a chainless chainsaw, and I spook them from behind, and they run down the strobe light hallway, and it's very disorienting and scary. It's usually kind of a good time, but sometimes we get these very interesting kids that come by, and they just like ask for high fives and stuff, and we're like not allowed to touch people, and it's just kind of weird and awkward, and it's like kind of slows down the path of people.
That came up too.
Them.
It was like, don't touch anyone. Like that was like the rule.
Yeah.
It was like, just don't touch them. And yeah, like, which makes sense.
You're supposed to, because they gotta sign. It's like the ones that make you sign a waiver are the ones that are like they're allowed to touch you and stuff. Mm-hmm. But those you see those more out west.
Yeah.
Not around here, which makes sense. And I don't want to touch people.
Oh, the other thing, speaking of doing it with friends, is that I went with my friend, and I was like, well, at least we're gonna be kind of hanging out and stuff. But then, like, the people came through and it was like, oh, we need more people further down. And so my friend went down and I stayed, and I was basically like kind of on my own for like a few hours, just doing spooks and whatever. So that was kind of tough because I wanted to like hang out with my friend, and then that also didn't happen. And the other thing that made it tough was they let a little girl be like part of it. She like lives on the farm or something. And so she had like a little skeleton hand she was like whacking the wagons with, and she was like, get off my property, and everyone was like, ah ha ha ha, like, oh, there's a little girl, ha ha ha, right before me, and kind of like crossing into where I was. Like she would kind of like tag along with it for a bit to like keep whacking it. And so like, how am I gonna spook them like right during the like, oh, there's like a normal little girl there with like a little skeleton like right towards the end. I don't know. I felt like there wasn't much I could do there as far as yeah. I was set up to fail. I was set up. God damn it. Like it like I wanted to like just kind of do a thing. But, like, God damn it. There was a lot of things that were, like, not great about that thing that I did.
Yeah. It's a fun time doing the one that I go to. You should do it sometime. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, and I can see how it could have been fun from the other side, too.
They have people stationed, so it's, like, group stationed. So, like, you'd be with us doing clown stuff next year, because the people who run it really like the clown thing. So... We're always starting opening with that one. But it's nice. You'd like stick around with us and you can kind of improv a little bit because you kind of do your own thing unsupervised, as long as you're like not touching people and like not damaging something. It's totally cool. Let's just go crazy and scare people. It's fun. We do ours through donation, and it's like $5 entry or a can of food. And so most people just donate cans of food per person. And I heard one of my group members, I was talking with them earlier, they said that they raised 1,000 pounds worth of canned food.
Nice.
Which is awesome. I think it goes to the homeless
shelter. That's a lot of shepherd's pie.
Yeah, and green beans and ravioli. Good stuff.
Yeah. I still do a can of Chef Boyardee.
Beets.
A little Chef Boy every now and again. Beets too. Beets are one of the veggies that I'm like, yeah, I'll get it canned and sliced. I don't know. I don't care.
Cranberry sauce. Pineapple rings.
Yeah, soon we're moving into Thanksgiving.
Pumpkin
next
spice.
month, and there'll be lots of cranberry jelly in the shape of a can.
Yeah. Not a big fan of cranberry sauce. I mean, it's fine. I'll have it if it's on my plate, but like if it's presented on the table, I usually won't get it myself.
I used to not, but I have grown to like it. Like turkey, mashed potato, gravy, cranberry sauce. Like,
I'm that way with turnips and sweet potatoes. I used to never be a turnip sweet potato person, and now I've like grown to really like turnips and sweet potatoes and all those yummy roots.
Yeah,
they're really good.
What are you gonna be for Halloween?
I'm gonna be Satan.
Yeah.
I've usually always done like the zombie thing because I like doing my own makeup, like I said earlier, and I always like I know how to do like a cool cheap effect with just some liquid latex and toilet paper and makeup to like have look the rotten flesh look on your face. So I usually always do zombie, but I think I'm gonna go out on my wheel, and I was like a vampire a couple years ago, which was fine. I still have the black cape. So I figured just get some red face paint, some horns, keep the black cape and like get some like demon looking fangs and just be like a demon looking person. I'll probably just pull it off as Satan and like.
That's what I did like the last 3 years. It was like kind of a Satan-y kind of thing. Yeah. I have two pairs of the same like devil horn things from Party City.
Yeah, what's more spookier than Satan, you know? The ultimate spook.
For some.
Yeah.
For some he's a hero, a friend.
Oh yeah. Some he doesn't exist at all. You don't exist, Satan.
Right.
You don't scare me.
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh wow, like Christian mythology. Oh, am I gonna go to hell? Oh no. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna be a Keebler elf. Wear elf ears.
Very tall Keebler elf.
And just have cookies on me. Like, I'll just get some Keebler elf, like some Keebler cookies.
They might think you're like Will Ferrell's elf.
Fair. And I'm a Pokemon trainer and just kind of wear like bright colors. And I have some like little plastic Pokeballs that I've had since my youth that have little like clips to go on your like belt hook or something. And I have like each one has like a little Pokemon toy in it, so it'll be easy.
Yeah,
and I can just like throw little Pokemon toys at people.
That'd be fun.
Go Muck!
It's a really like aggressive way to flirt at a girl on a bar. I choose you. Throw the ball. Very aggressive.
Yeah, I'll throw my balls at them, and that's how they'll swoon.
I'll just tell people I'll make them a deal. For their soul.
Your soul is mine.
Yeah, I've been trying to like get in the Halloween theme. It's hard, you know, being an adult and doing adult stuff, but I keep trying to maintain the spooks. This way, you and I have been watching spooky stuff, or trying to at least when we can.
Yeah, I have some of those cheapo like 50 movie collections, as you see in those what is it? It's Mill Creek Entertainment, something like that. Yeah. But one of them is classic horror and one of them is something thriller, but I have like 100 kind of like bad horror movies from
they're just
50s
the ones
to 80s.
They're like mainly ones that are on public domain, but there's a few that are probably like they costed like $1 per movie.
Yeah, so I've watched a little bit of that and like nothing really to report, just like you know what you'd expect from it. Nothing that was like super like a gem or anything.
You gave me that Stephen King one. We should probably go through that. I'm sure there's some good ones. I think Dark Zone's on there, which would be a fun spooky movie to watch. If they've got like what's that one with Robert Englund in it, and it's like the killer it's like the killer like water heater or whatever. It's like super lame, but we can watch that one.
Yeah, I'm not familiar, but
there's like a possessed like boil room or whatever. Great. It's like some random machines possessed.
There is kind of like a horror trope of like things that can go through the pipes. Like you see that in like Ghostbusters 2,
Casper,
and and like what's the one that's kind of like a little bit of a comedy one with Nathan Fillion and Elizabeth Banks, the little like red slug things.
Oh, Slither.
Yeah, they do a little bit of that.
Things in the pipes. They're in the pipes.
Yeah, because then they can like get into your house.
Yeah.
Just like Krampus, another great, more of a Christmas movie, but like a Christmas horror movie. Krampus is good. Just such a fine film.
We need to watch the other one that guy made, which is Trick or Treat.
Oh yeah,
it's a very good Halloween movie to watch. I've seen it twice.
I have not. I'd definitely be down to watch that within the next 9
24
days.
hours.
Well, that too.
Yeah, 9 days. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I it used to be on Netflix. I don't think it is anymore, but really good. Like, just short synopsis to the people listening. Like, it's basically a small and like vignettes. I would say an anthology, but they all take place at the same town on the same night. Sometimes told in different orders, kind of like Pulp Fiction. It's like Pulp Fiction, like vignettes. So if you like that kind of story writing, and you like getting spooked, in a perfect Halloween movie for you would be Trick or Treat.
Yeah. If it's made by the person that did Krampus, then I'm already in.
Yeah, if you like Krampus, you'd love Trick or Treat because it's. I like that movie more than Krampus, and I do like Krampus a lot.
There's really only one. There's been a few like Krampus movies, right? There's like a handful of just kind of shit tier.
That's the
movies.
Yeah. The only two Krampuses in my mind is that movie and Binding of Isaac Krampus.
Yeah.
I hate running into Isaac by Krampus. He's the worst.
He's like easy enough to deal with, but it's like kind of a bummer because it's
his head is like kind of poopy.
And I mean, Cole is like
Cole's
fine.
Cole's fine.
Yeah, but
I'll take a lump of Cole.
Devil deals are better.
It's good if you have like a Pethor rune on you.
Yeah.
Or what's that other one where it just like changes the item in the room? It's like a space bar item. Whatever.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
The 1 pip dice room. And the 6 pip dice room.
Because both those things affect the pool of whatever the items in which room it's in. You know what I'm saying? So since it's in a double room, I mean, it'll be shuffled.
Yeah, if you have chaos, you could get anything. So I guess it's fine. I also, as far as spooks go, I watched Spit on Your Grave, which I thought was gonna have more horror elements, but it was mostly just kind of like
it's a thriller.
Yeah. I thought that it was she dies and comes back kind of thing, but it was just she survives and gets revenge. And so I was a little like, oh, okay, well, it's just kind of fucked up and like, okay, great. It reminded me of a movie I got out of like the bargain bin, I think, called Avenged, which is a very similar movie. It's like this, she's either deaf or mute girl.
She's in her house, and then there's a guy messing with her, like putting her phone away so she can't hear it.
No.
Oh, that movie's really good. It should be on Netflix still.
Yeah, this you probably haven't heard of, but we could watch it. But it's a similar thing where she gets like raped and tortured and like totally brutalized and actually killed by this like group of dudes. And then she gets possessed, or like this kind of Native American spirit like resurrects her, and she gets revenge, but she's kind of a zombie, like her body's still falling apart, like, and she like gets that, and like there's some kind of body horror, like she looks down and like sees the maggots in her wrists and just kind of like screams and cries, but like she's just kind of
so it's like The Crow almost, but
yeah. And so she only has so much time, but she's like resurrected, and that like, but she also has some like extra abilities like from this, like there's a little like magic going on, and there's some great brutal moments, like she pulls the intestines out of this guy, and like she gets a lot of intestine, like it's really effed up, but it was kind of a cool, like, I think it was probably a lesser known, like maybe lightly lower budget kind of movie, but it was very similar. I don't know. There's something about like a revenge tale that's like, it can be kind of satisfying, but it can also be kind of shallow.
Yeah, or just like grimy.
Yeah.
It's like grimy for being grimy and not grimy for like a message or some sort. Like,
yeah, if you're gonna show something as like brutal and dark and like edgy as like rape and
murder,
torture and murder and that kind of stuff, then you better have the artistic chops to like contextualize it in an interesting and important way,
or at least do something different and unique to make it like a different experience and everything. Because like I Spit on Your Grave, like you were mentioning before, is very similar to Last House on the Left.
Yeah, and you were saying, you asked me which one when I said Spit on Your Grave, because it was a remade, and like I didn't even know that.
Yeah, same with Last House on the Left. I think they came out like almost the same year too. And you know, it's like what's that one with like Daniel Craig,
the woman
girl
in black?
the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Oh.
You're Daniel Radcliffe is who you're thinking of.
Oh yeah.
Daniel Craig's the James Bond guy.
Right. And also, speaking of remakes, The Ring is one of the VHSs I recently like digitized. It's been a big project in my life lately.
What have you done? It's on the internet now.
Yeah.
We're all gonna die.
I've been like I've recorded like over 100 VHS tapes digitally. The quality is like not super great. Like even for VHS, there's a little bit of like digital kind of nonsense, but
no, it's for
it's good enough for I'm not like sharing it or anything. It's just kind of like an archive, and like I own all of the VHSs, so it's mostly just so if they like die. But anyway, I watched a little bit of The Ring, the English one. It was just so boring and like early 2000s. It felt so like
the ending's
silly.
spooky.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe like maybe I wasn't like I didn't watch the whole thing. I was just kind of watching like the end bits, and so maybe I wasn't like pulled in enough.
Have you seen the original?
Kind of goofy.
Ringu.
Yeah, I owned them and like sold them in a garage sale when I was younger, and like I watched it when I was young, but I can't really remember it.
Picture the same movie, but the guy in the movie is a psychic. That's like the main difference, is like he can like see the ghost and stuff, and he can it makes it a little different.
Oh yeah, speaking of psychics, you played that game,
the Danger House
of Danger.
House of Danger.
Yeah, it's kind of based off of like a choose your own adventure novel. It's kind of like kitschy, a little like
R.A. Montgomery, I believe is his name.
Yeah, there's also Battle with the Evil Power Master or something, which is like a sci-fi.
Well, the even though Danger House of Danger is more sci-fi than Halloween-y. It's a little
because it looked like it was kind of more of the like haunted mansion kind of spooky type thing.
Yeah, no, there's just like
House on Haunted Hill,
there's
House of Danger, it's like spooky house.
So far it seems like it's mad scientists made like talking chimps or whatever.
Oh, funky.
Yeah. But you're a psychic, so you see kind of spooky stuff through like visions and stuff. Like there's a part where you can...
I guess mad scientist is kind of a horror thing. But...
Yeah. There's a part where you can go into a dollhouse. Like you shrink down and then you go inside a dollhouse and you have to like psychically have a piano battle with like this creepy doll in a dress. It's really weird.
Great.
Yeah, it's fine. It's so interesting because like it has a lot of ambition behind its concept, because I like the idea of having a choose your own adventure contextualized as a board game, because there's like a lot of items and stuff that you'd want. Like it's like the in between of a choose your own adventure and one of those point and click survival games that you would see like back in Armor Games and addictinggames.com.
Yeah.
It's like the in-between of those, because you find a lot of things that you have to hold on to, and you can lose them or use them. You don't really use them once. You kind of hold on to them, and if you really screw up, you like break it or something. That's interesting. Definitely, I mean, it was like $25 at Target. I mean, it's fine. I think if you've got like a kid and they're having like a kid's Halloween party, you could probably like read it to them and they can play together at a Halloween party. I can see that being cool. Or just playing it with your kid or something.
Yeah, or if you have like really nerdy friends that'll like get into things even if they're kind of lame.
It's just really, really corny.
Yeah, or if you're just like a super like corny nerdy, like so if you're somebody who would like something kind of cheesy for like cheese sake.
It's for ages 10 and up, and I would say like 10-year-olds, like a Stranger Things like group of kids would probably really like playing it.
Yeah. But it was neat in concept, but it seems like, I don't know, it maybe could have just been a choose your own adventure novel and not like a game. But it was a neat idea to kind of gamify that.
Yeah. I still like other games like One Night Ultimate Werewolf or Betrayal at House on the Hill. I think those are better spooky party game options if you have them.
Mario Kart on Luigi's Mansion and Smash on Luigi's Mansion.
And Smash on Castlevania Dracula's Castle.
Yeah. Those are some good Halloween video games you can play with your friends. Yeah. Are there Left 4 Dead?
Yeah.
Is a good.
I really wish there was a third one, or at least a remaster of 2 with all the DLC. I would kill for right now. That would be so good.
That would be
or
awesome.
A good Switch
just
launch.
Like it had
not
all
remastered, just Switch launch.
Ooh, yeah, that would be nice. Cause as I've gone on about in the past, I love shooters on mobile platforms, and there are not enough good ones at all, and that would be fun to have. Left 4 Dead on the Switch. Left 4 Dead 2, all the DLC, because that's everything from Left 4 Dead 1 also. So
it's just great. Left 4 Dead 1 plus, and then another game on top of that.
Yeah, and there's The Crossing and one other one that are kind of unique.
There's The Crossing, and then there's the
Sacrifice.
That's Left 4 Dead 1, the Sacrifice.
Okay.
Left 4 Dead 2 had The Crossing, and then the one where you're at a funeral or a wedding or something. The Wedding. Or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember because it's there's this giant wedding site, and you just go through a wedding.
Do you play any other horror games? I never really... I don't know.
I played Fear 2. Fear 2 was... fine. I don't think it was as amazing as people said, and I saw a friend of mine play Fear 1, and again, I don't think it's as amazing as people say. I think it was fine. BioShock is very spooky, and it's kind of one of those games that you can play at any time of the year, but definitely Halloween's a good getting kind of creeped out kind of vibe. I played Soma, but then I got spoiled the ending, so I stopped playing Soma, but now I've kind of fried my brains out enough. I think I forgot the ending of Soma, so I could probably play it again.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to play a lot of Diablo 2 because it's my favorite video game, and I would say that's a very spooky, scary game, especially in the first bit of the game. Very, very spooky. Played a lot of Blood, and what's that other game? Hexen and Heretic. Those are very spooky.
Yeah, I haven't played any of these things.
Yeah.
I've watched people play Five Nights at Freddy's. I own a few of them because they were cheap enough on Steam, but I barely touched them.
Are you scared?
I don't want to put in the effort with those games. It feels like a lot of pattern interpretation that I just don't want to have to do.
I played Slender when it came out, and it was a big thing.
I have played Slender maybe once at a college kind of event put on by one of the student groups, kind of a little game night thing.
Yeah, I had a friend that got it, and he was like, "Oh, let's play it." I also played SCP Containment Breach because that's free. And I have kept my eye on it since it's been updated, and it seems like it's got a lot of great stuff. There's now 2 modes, where there's one mode where it's randomly generated like it's always been, but now there's one where the developer made more linear path that makes more sense, and you run into the scares at the right time so you don't brick yourself into losing.
I have Darkstalkers Chronicles on Xbox Arcade, but it's I had never played a Darkstalkers game before getting it, and I don't really know, like, I hadn't taken the time to learn the game, but it seemed fine, but a lot of kind of horror-themed characters.
Yeah. You basically say Mortal Kombat X, because there's, like, a lot of horror characters in that.
It's true. You could play Mortal Kombat X with, like, just Jason and Predator and
Leatherface and Alien.
Freddy Krueger was in
9.
Right.
And 10's got Terminator.
Right.
We don't have Michael Myers. We don't have Pinhead. Chucky would be weird and uncomfortable because I don't want a really small character in Mortal Kombat. That sounds fine.
Do you kind of in Tekken 3? I think there was like a little dinosaur baby, and it was like so annoying because it was so small.
Yeah, and the Bleach Hand of Fate or whatever card / fighting game on the DS had
card / games
had that. What was that little teddy bear character in Bleach?
Oh yeah,
you could play.
I know exactly what you're talking
and
about.
all he did is just did like leapfrog attacks, and that was it. That was the only thing he could do. It was really annoying.
There was a Kingdom Hearts game on Game Boy Advance that was like a card / fight. Like it had like card elements, and it's kind of it's funny to see that in games sometimes.
Yeah, I really liked that Bleach one. It was pretty good.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm excited for Halloween. I'm excited for all the spooky stuff, and I hope everybody else is feeling the spooky season. It's been a good long discussion on scary things. Token.
Yeah, I plan on my favorite Halloween movie. Well, my favorite like horror movies are kind of more monster movies. Like I love Alien, Predator, Terminator, like
Godzilla.
But yeah, kind of that like
The Blob.
Monster movies. Yeah, The Blob. I love The Blob.
I love every version of The Blob.
Yeah.
The Thing is like my favorite movie. Thing's really good.
Yeah. So definitely looking forward to getting a little bit of that, and I would love to watch the original Alien sometime because I like barely remember. I have Aliens, and I've seen that one a bunch. So like for a while, I kind of just like that's overriding my memory of the original Alien because I haven't seen it in so long.
Would you rather watch the theatrical version, the home release version, or the director's cut?
I should probably do some research or take your recommendation, but I'm sure I don't know. I'll have to decide if I want to pick the shortest or the longest.
Yeah, I'll go into detail with those probably off mic. Cool. It's a long discussion.
Sure. All right. Well, yeah.
Thanks for listening.
I guess time's up. It's time to smoke more, and but we won't be back after this smoke break.
Yeah.
Not until the next one.
You'll have to wait in an interval amount of time, which could mean
we might smoke weed for a month again, and then the next podcast will be after another month-long smoke break. We'll see.
Probably not, but
probably not. Definitely going to talk about the Joker because we both saw that.
That's gonna be next for sure.
And then all right. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Goodbye. This has been Hot Tokes, a podcast.
Bye-bye.